It was the ultimate dream. I think it is a complex question, at least it was for me.
Because when you travel to America and you explain people, I for a living I play handball, and they are like, what?
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Into the net.
She does it again!
Yes! And Víctor are the champions of Europe! To come up with something here, she has a game! Surprise the keeper! What a comeback!
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk handball again, and last week was International Women's Day, hence we're dedicating this episode of This Spin We Talk Handball to the women of this sport. But of course, I couldn't just swap out my fellow podcast mates here, and he's not just my mate, he's forever number 8. He scores on every pass. Who could it be? Of course, Víctor Tomàs. How's it going?
Oh my God, I think this is my top one, eh? This is
taken.
How long did it take for you to make this one? It was just
2.5
in
minutes.
The morning when you woke up before your first coffee, or
yeah, something in that direction. Now, I told you last week off record that this is about the time that I wake up of the day because it's 9 p.m. in Germany, so 21 o'clock Central European Standard Time, I think. So yeah, this is just when I slightly wake up. But yeah, let's not make our other mate wait for too long, because the beach in his hand, he is our top prize. Denmark is his land. Martin Vilstrup, always in for a surprise. How's it going?
When you made the introduction to Víctor, I didn't know what to think. Besides, when you rhyme Bengt, it's unbelievable. There's Buster rhymes and there are Bengt rhymes. Those are the ones that you got to look out for.
Wow.
But you're doing good.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. The weather is getting better in Denmark, and I started a new job 2 days ago, and freshly haircut. A lot of handball, and now I'm back together with you guys. Not much to complain about.
So a lot of new things in your life. What's your new job?
It's the title is called sales coordinator. What does that mean? That I need to be the sales representative in Italy, Poland, and Denmark, and then assist the different area sales managers that we have around in the world, and do a lot of Excel work.
I'm pretty sure that you're making yourself a blast there. Basically halfway through the Champions League on both sides, in the Machine Seeker EHF Champions League on the men's side and the EHF Champions League women, because we are recording Wednesday night, so the men are still playing their round. That's why we leave them out for today, but for sure we'll analyze them the next time that we're back. But of course, I announced it that this episode is supposed to be about the women, and that's why we invited the best woman that we could find on this planet, because she is 3 times Champions League winner, 3 times world champion, 5 times European champion, Olympic winner, but even more important, an amazing human being, ladies and gentlemen. Stine Oftedal, how's it going?
It's going very well, thanks a lot. What an introduction.
He's the best doing these introductions, and he's getting better and better every time.
I can hear that.
But I mean, truly deserved. But where are you calling us from? So I reckon you're in Kiel?
Yes, that is correct. So my new hometown, right now alone with my husband being on a little European tour, but enjoying Kiel by myself.
Yeah, so we are recording on Tuesday just before Kiel's game in Porto, but that is not the topic today, just for transparency reasons. But how are you, getting comfortable in Kiel?
So far, it's been really good, actually. It was very nice to just be able to kind of relax and get settled in a little right after the Olympics and explore a bit what this new life contains. So I said it to you right before we started that I still feel like I have a little romanticized picture about this place, just because this was where I always went when I had days off. So it still gives me a little vacation feeling now, even in gray February.
Yeah, well, I mean, people living in Kiel, they always brag about living where other people do vacation or go for vacation. So, well, you chose a quite a nice place, and it is a handball mecca too.
It sure is, so it fits well.
Yeah, but actually, when you're talking about just getting used to what life holds in for you right now, how has life been since retirement?
It's been really good. First I of course took a little completely off, like had vacation. It's not so much of that in an Olympic season, so that was the first thing. Moving into a new house, there's always something to do. Then I figured out, and it's probably going to be a never-ending process. And then actually, I've just been saying yes to a lot of different projects. So I've been traveling maybe more than I planned for the past 6 months. But I also think that it's good to keep a little busy, stay a little busy. So yeah, so far I feel it's been a good balance.
Victor, you just interrupt me whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, I just wanted to. It's a question that she has answered many, many times for sure, especially in Norwegian and Scandinavian media. But I want Stine, if you can explain us to the viewers that we have, what made you take this decision to retire handball when you were still on the top of the top? You know, you were still starter in Györ, starter in national team, winning everything like you did. Why?
I think it is a complex question. At least it was for me. Ending what you have been doing for like all these years, this childhood dream, because that's exactly how it was for me as well. It's a huge step, and it's yeah, going into suddenly an adult life in a very different way. So there were many things coming together, but for sure it was a lot about like family situation. I've been having a distant relationship for many years, and I felt it was time to just take this further. I also think that just handball wise, I've been lucky enough to actually do everything that I wanted to do. I feel that's been such a privilege. And a few years ago, when I was looking at my next contract, I was writing a new contract, and the Olympics lay there in 24, like the last ultimate dream that I hadn't managed to at least like fulfill completely yet, with a gold medal. And I just thought also that additional 4 more years after that felt like too long. I also think I've been so lucky and healthy, which also meant that I've been doing everything. So whenever it is just like a training camp, or it's a away game here or there, like I'm always there for all of these small things as well. And I also think that I never really had time to miss it either, in a way, which I'm so happy about. Don't get me wrong on that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have changed that at all. But I still think that this total load, and yeah, handball with its never-ending seasons, it's some kind of load as well. And the things I loved about handball, I still loved in the end. But I felt that the more, maybe not difficult, but like those things that I maybe thought were harder, those got heavier and heavier in a way. And then lastly, I also always felt like I wanted to stop at a point in my career where I still felt like myself on the field. And yeah, that came to now then.
Was there a specific reason why you chose exactly that timing? Was it the Olympics that you said, well, I don't want to go for another Olympic cycle?
Yeah, it was actually. If the Olympics was supposed to be in 25 instead, I would probably have done 1 more year. So yeah, in many ways it was like that. Definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, did you have plans for retirement when you were still playing? That you were like, oh, well, I want to become a coach or something in that direction, and could you already follow them?
I didn't have such clear plans, and I for sure didn't want to take this coach path, especially just because you basically live the same type of life. And one of the reasons why I also wanted to change was to have more flexibility in this, and not needing to travel everywhere all the time. And yeah, so yes and no. Somehow I could control a lot what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, just because I decided myself, which was great. But still, I also felt that I actually went into it with less control for like future plans than what I'm used to. Normally, I'm quite like I like to be in control. I like to know what I'm supposed to do and what I will do. So that was still a little different, but everything has still been very much on my terms. So that has been very good.
Victor actually always tells us about the difficulties when you retire, because you get pulled out of that schedule, out of that really tight schedule, and that you do face some issues organizing your life, and that well, you're used to being told when to be where, when to go to training, when to be on the bus, because the bus is driving anyway. You just have to be there. Did you face any issues getting your life into a direction where you wanted to be?
So far, I don't feel like that, but I'm very much prepared to feel it at some point. I think it's naive to not think that it will come at some point. Like I said, I could control my ending a lot in the way that I could actually prepare, and I wanted it to be like this, and that I think makes a difference, especially now for the first year. But of course, there are certain things that I'm sure I'll feel feel a lot more with time and having a distance from it for longer. And yeah, I don't know. Handball is what I'm used to doing, used to being good at, and this also gives a lot of it gives a lot to your character in a way. And like I said, until now, I felt like I got enough impulses from other places, but sure, I'm actually not sure where I'm really headed with the future. And I also think that certain things you'll never have like a locker room culture the same way as you did while you play, that I cannot believe. And yeah, therefore I really think that with time there will be components in a way where I will really feel it, and a bit about just how I see myself as well, and as an ambition human being in a way. So far so good, but very much prepared for it to come.
That's good to hear, because it was tough in my case. At some point, I had some really, really tough months where I had to find myself, but it's really good that you are ready for that. I hope it's not coming, but it's really good to hear that you're ready. I wanted to ask you that if I'm not wrong, you were working for Norwegian TV in the last championship in Austria. And now you told us a little bit about this locker room feeling. When you were there in a complete different role outside of the group, of course, you still know everyone and you can go in and out whenever you want. But in those moments, did you feel, oh, I really wanted to be down there, to play?
Actually, no.
Okay.
But no, but what I felt still was a little that especially the first game that I had with TV there, the first time they were running in, then I felt a little misplaced. So that I felt it in a way that shit, this is not where I'm normally at, and like I'm normally with them, I'm normally down there, and normally I know exactly what they've been going through towards this game. So in that aspect, yes, but I still didn't feel this need to play. So I actually think that so far, at least for me, it's more of a social component that I feel a little rather than the competitive part.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it sounds like there were a couple of different tasks for you ever since your retirement, and a couple of different experiences as well. What did you enjoy the most ever since you retired?
Actually, I enjoyed a lot this TV experience as an expert. I did it now both in December with the women, and also a little in January for the men's championship. And I thought I would be.
In January was not that enjoyable, right?
Maybe not from Norwegian eyes. So I must say it was a little easier in that way to do it in December, because you cheer for the guys just as much, and then it's a little harder when you're also supposed to be objective. But I still hope that they also know that I have their best interest in mind. So I think that's really fine. But yeah, different type of feeling for sure. But yeah, this part I actually maybe enjoyed more than I expected.
Now we spoke about your retirement, how you feel, and everything, but I want to go a little bit through your career. So you have been playing in a top level for almost 20 years. You've been in Helsted, you've been in Stabæk, and then Paris, and then Györ. What did you take from every place to reach this level, and what did you take from the coaches that you have been coached from? In different cultures, because I know Norway women handball is like a religion, but then you went to Paris when Paris was arguably a known team, and then from there you made this huge step in your career to go to Györ. Tell us a little bit about what did you learn from every place that you play?
Oof. Yeah, but of course, I feel I've learned a lot different places. My time in Stabæk, this was, you mentioned Helset as well, but that was actually like the youth club part of Stabæk. So it was in a way that we could also play this youth series when I was 17, 18, this national-wide youth series. But yeah, in Stabæk, first of all, I had this coach, Jonas Ville, who is now the coach of the Norwegian national team for the guys. He brought me there. He kind of believed in me in a very young age. He was my coach from when I was 15. So of course, to get playing minutes as early as 16 at the top level in Norway, that kind of meant a lot in this way, and that someone trusted me and showed that I could get playing time that early. Secondly, then I had Håvard Mamelund, which is at least the last name is probably a known handball name. So the brother of Erlend Mamelund. He still takes credit for some of the things on the field from
of course
from me, and it's right.
I would do the same.
Yes. No. So for example, like with him, I trained a lot different type of passes to the pivot. So especially this pass between the legs, like I feel he made that a big part of my game in a way. So at least I can say that I learned that from him. Plus also that he said from the beginning that he thought that my way into being like stable with national team was having Sanna Solberg also play a lot on number 2 or 5. I don't know how you say it. So this was also something we started at very young age. So already at 16, 17, we started with having a little this constellation with like looking forward. So in a way that actually gave me quite a lot. So yeah, many good things there. Paris, I think to me, I always wanted to play abroad. That was always a dream of mine. And I also wanted to experience a different type of handball culture. And I think the French way of playing, it just appealed to me in so many ways. At the same time, they also had a project with some stars at that point, but still not too many. So it was a good mix of like getting different type of experience, but at the same time also having the chance to get an important role, which I still wanted a lot. And I wanted to play when I went there. And I also think that these years in Paris really, it helped me in so many ways. I feel it's such a cliche to say in a way, but it gives you so many different aspects to actually see a different culture and stay in a different country and learn a language. At least I wish I could speak it even better still, but fine enough.
French, it's tough.
And also just, it is, I must say that. But also this, we say that it's a lot more like unorthodox compared to the Norwegian strategies. Like they play much more way to destroy for the opponent actively. In Norway, we're more like, we try to stabilize and like, of course, make them play on our terms, but in a different way. So I also felt that I kind of really needed that. And of course, with Györ, when this offer comes, you kind of feel like this is a chance that cannot go past. And they were the best at that point. And Andres Martin as well, like being the coach he is, with the reputation he had, it felt like the perfect moment for me.
I find it super interesting because it took you 22 years to leave Norway, but ever since you never returned. So you went to Paris and then you went over to Györ. And even after retirement, now you move to the northern part of Germany. Of course, it is a little closer. I think it's the Stena line that goes to Norway, or is it the other one?
It's the other one.
The color line, yeah, fair.
The color line.
The connection to Norway did get closer, but you actually never really went home. So was it never an option for you?
Until now, no, it actually wasn't. And I think from the moment I moved, I was 21 still, I think, when I moved out from Norway. And I just felt like it was the right time. And I've always felt that I managed in a way to build a home wherever I'm at. And of course, I miss family, I miss friends. It's not like that, but still just feel like, you get a life wherever you are in a way if you really want it. And now, of course, I moved here to come closer to one part of family, or what is at least now family. But yeah, no, I felt like I never really looked back, and that I'm very content. I've been very content wherever I've been, which is lucky or good or whatever you can call it.
Now that you, Bengt, asked about going back to Norway, I would like to ask you, Stine, how do you see Norwegian handball from the club's perspective? We have had this terrible news about Vipers going bankruptcy. And then this project of Kolstad, that it looked like it was going to, to win the Champions League in 2 years. And then the project, it's still competing in a very good level in Champions League, but it looks like it's a little bit slowing down. Of course, we have Sola and Storhamar in the women's side and Elverum in the men's side. But how do you see Norwegian handball in the clubs? Because it's a very important country when we speak about national team competitions. But then the leagues of this country, which is a very rich country as well, it's not. Something is always happening that it's not letting the country go up in their hometown leagues.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually think that's really sad. And I also think it's, in so many ways, it's so strange, because we talk of ourselves as an handball nation, at least on the female side, for like different parts during the last 20 years. We actually always had, like, especially one female team that were really competitive in the Champions League, like Larvik at their prime were always top 5 in Europe. Then you had one Champions League. Then you have Vipers coming up, who suddenly win Champions League 3 times in a row, and they're bankrupt right after. Like, it honestly, I think it's really sad. But I also think that we are more of a national team country, and we're not willing somehow, maybe as a nation, to put enough into that. I think, like you say, on paper we're a, what do you call, a rich country. Maybe sometimes people need sport a little less on this everyday basis. I'm not sure. That's at least a question I asked myself, like when I played in Györ, and to see how important this club is for the city, like that you don't find in Norway the same way. Of course, Elverum is maybe the closest you've had to that, in this way of having like a whole city behind it. So yeah, I think that's also the sad part. It's so much potential. The young girls especially, but boys as well now, with the men's team also getting better and better the past years. Young players want to play handball, but I still somehow think that until now it went fine enough, because the national team, especially again for women, had good enough results. So when Norway says that they're a handball nation, it's more because they really like the December championship and now the January championship. The problem is that in the long run, it's naive to think that that is always enough. So I still think, but I also feel growing up, like what I wanted was to play for the national team. All of my dreams was going into like what I wanted with the national team. So the national team and the federation has always also made great things for having this type of dreams put solely into the national team and for the nation. So that's still great. That will still do a lot of good things for their recruitation. But yeah, it's potentially a little more fragile when you don't have this solidness and like security around the clubs as well.
I feel like we could use 2 more hours to talk about the handball in Norway and the national team structure and all of that. But once we have you here, I do want to talk a little bit more about you and your sporty career as well. Because while talking about the national team, there were a lot of trophies. I didn't even closely get to the amount of trophies that you won in your entire career, but I wanted to highlight the, well, from an outside, most important ones. But having won everything with the national team, being a Champions League winner, ending your career on the highest note, which of all those trophies is stuck to your mind the most?
I think the last thing you do is what really sticks the most. And with everything leading up to the Olympics, it's hard to say anything else than this last competition, honestly. It was the ultimate dream. The last thing that I wanted to try to achieve, playing like my last handball game ever against France in France for an Olympic goal. Like it's too big of a setup not to say that.
How did you feel ahead of that game?
Yeah, what did I feel? I don't know. It honestly was way too much in so many ways. Like it's way too much. Just this thought of like playing a final like that. I think that's already more than enough pressure. But yeah, there were so many other emotional aspects to it that was very somehow special.
Do you feel?
But again,
sorry, Stine. Do you feel you enjoyed it the way you wanted to enjoy it?
Good question. I would say maybe yes and no. I think that going into the last game and how I felt before the final and during the final, that's how I wanted it to feel. So there I really felt it throughout the championship, and maybe especially like making it to this like semi-final. That the previous 2 Olympics we went out in the semi-final in like quite brutal ways, like close games and all of these things, both times against Russia. And so I felt like this little semi-final ghost was stressing me for sure, and also knowing that it's my last chance, and I know many of the other girls also feeling it a little the same. But at the same time, I also tried very much to be in peace with that also being the last chance, in the way that if it didn't work, it's not like it would destroy anything, or but yeah, I felt like it was a lot, and I was very happy also that we with the national team for like months before, we kind of put down a lot of strategies and what can I say, like safety nets for example, me personally, that say that in a final I would start to cry at some point or feel extra emotional during the day, or then I knew that we had already planned that different players would take different roles that I normally fulfill. And I also think like these parts of it made me not need it. So, I in the end, when we stood there, I felt I didn't need anyone to actually do my job, because I knew they would if I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And that gave me a very, very good feeling, and like a very strong feeling of this, of like being a part of a team, actually.
Yeah, we can all be happy that your first answer to Victor's question, yes and no, wasn't the answer that you gave Rune maybe 2 weeks later. But actually,
5 days actually.
Just 5 days. Oh, well, fair enough. But yeah, in that summer, so much happened. You winning the Champions League, becoming the MVP of that tournament, playing your last Olympic tournament, even winning gold, retirement, then moving on to a new stage, saying the famous words "I do." Can you even pick one highlight out of last summer?
I feel like now I shouldn't say the Olympics right now. I should say the "I do" part.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough for an answer.
I'm joking. No, I really feel like this whole summer in a way was like it was a highlight in itself, and I knew I was going into all of these different things, and they meant so much in so many different ways. Maybe it's too much to kind of center them within that short of a time, but looking back as well, it truly feels euphoric to have the chance to have all of them there, and I also think this getting married part and actually doing something that is a little bigger than just sport as well, that is still what is the most important.
Yeah, most definitely. But let's move on a little bit to your after career, because I stumbled upon an interesting topic that is related to the Olympics too, but the upcoming Olympics, because right now you work as an ambassador for the project Pro Handball USA. Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about it. What is the goal of that project?
Yeah, so the main goal is, of course, to establish handball in the USA, to make our sport bigger, to get it even more out there, to give more possibilities, to just basically make the sport grow. The ultimate goal is, of course, to manage to create a league over there, both female and men. And by doing that, we want for the next 3 years from 26 to put the best European teams onto big stages and make huge events in the US. So that's basically it, to have pre-season tournaments at quite cool locations.
It's an interesting topic because the American sports system, it does work differently than the ones that we're used to in Europe. If we're looking at the big leagues like the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, or you name them, and how those sports are integrated into the society and into the schooling system too. So what kind of challenges does that bring along, trying to implement a new sport into a society?
Yeah, I think for sure also that in general, we all know that we like to follow what we're really good at as a nation, as people. So the main difficulty will, of course, be to actually get the interest. Like you said, they have very different systems, but some of the parts are also therefore to go into colleges to approach younger, the younger population a lot. And I just think that handball has so many aspects that should fit the American sports market in such a great way. But that there are difficulties, of course there are, to make something that is basically not known there really popular. Like, that will take a lot, and it will probably take many years as well. But I still think that the potential of it is huge, and it could do so much for our sport and for our ability to, or more players to live from it, to make bigger careers, to just put it higher on the sports market in general.
I agree with you,
Actually,
Stine, that handball is a sport itself. It's fast, it's tough, it's a sport that it fits to the American society. But for me, in this project, I wish you the best of luck. I think that the biggest challenge is to get people in America to know what they call team handball actually is. Because when you travel to America and you explain people, I make my life, I for a living I play handball, and they are like, what? They don't know, and to explain them what handball is, it's a challenge.
For sure, and that's also why the project here is going to be done in like different ways. You have to attack the market in different ways to reach as much as possible. So that's why you want to make like a big scene with the best team, so that they actually have a chance to see it and to feel it and to see the top level of it. Like you said, they still don't know the rules, or there are so many aspects that they won't know. But to start with showing, okay, this is the project, this is what it has to offer, and then at the same time, slowly but surely putting it into schools, pushing the knowledge up, hopefully in that way, maybe attracting players as well that thought they were going for basketball, or that maybe won't reach up completely there because the interest is so extreme there. But yeah, that it's a challenge. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Would be amazing though. So that's why I want to be part
Lycka
of it.
till.
Ja, tusen tack.
But actually, at what stage is handball in the US at right now?
Oof, yeah, still very unknown. You cannot say anything else than that. Of course, now you say they had a team playing in the World Championship. I also think it's good that IHF is on it as well. That they also want to approach it, because you need more people going for the same goal if we're going to do something like that. But yeah, it's still on a low level. So far, it's more players in the American national team, for example, that have like double citizenships or these things. So there's a long way, but potentially a cool one.
Yeah, because it's a lot of players with double passport, because handball is a European sport, and for them to develop as a players and to raise the level in the national team, they have to travel to Europe and play in our leagues here in Europe. It's what happened a long time ago with Brazilian players, with Argentinian players. They all flew to Europe and engaged some teams, and then the level raised considerably. So I think this is still the way until Stine and her partners can raise the level in America.
Yeah, for sure it is. But I also think just the fact to get US at a level where they can compete like that, like Brazil now can, that Argentina at least could for some years, then you suddenly have a certain interest. And I think when you manage to get to that point, it can also be easier to make it grow. So like you also said, it will for sure take years for it to like really establish. But if you manage to get the interest up, so you get a few profiles that can create something and get some wind around it. With time we'll see. It's at least really cool now to see, for example, Brazil in the men's championship, that they do well and that they come far and that they play close and win against so many good nations. It's a good sign for a project like USA Handball, I would say.
It is.
That is a lot from the perspective out of the US, why it could be interesting for them to build up a strong US American league or national team or both of it. But let's turn it around and look at it from a handball perspective. What would it mean for the sport in general to have a strong US American side in the sport?
And maybe it's actually really dangerous. Maybe we'll regret it in some years if they suddenly win everything.
We raised Thanos. Cool.
yes. No, but I just think in general that handball somehow deserves to be even bigger, deserves to grow. I think to give the chance for even more players to live this professional dream and to move to different countries, play in different leagues, like to get the interest up, to get a bigger market, popularity, money. Actually, like there's so many aspects of it that you need a bigger market to actually raise these things. So that's what I hope, at least.
I think that at the end of the day, if Americans, which are the kings of marketing, can have a established handball league in America, I think the sport itself will grow exponentially. Because I think that basketball in Spain or in other countries in Europe is as big as it is, in part, in a side, because of NBA and because of the marketing.
Yeah,
that
they build on each other.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. There's just one thing that I need to criticize you for during this interview. You said that you left the handball stage from something that you were good at, and that is the understatement of the year. So you left it just at the throne when you were Champions League winner and you won an Olympic gold. So with that in mind, thank you for keeping the flag up for the beautiful sport and for spreading the word over the pond as well. Let's wish you the best of luck for your upcoming tasks and that you can enjoy Kiel for a little more.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
An amazing guest, amazing talk with Stine. What do you think? What would a strong American side do with handball as a sport, Martin?
In general, I think it's very good that America is going. You also seen the last couple of years with the national team. There actually been some players there that has some Danish in them. I played myself with one of the line players, Donlin, and he also played in Spain. Was it for La Rioja, if I remember correctly?
No, it was
No,
Ademar de Leon.
Ademar Leon, yeah, true. And I mean, in general, it's going in the good direction, and I'm excited to see what it can bring them. Yeah, the most important thing is the awareness about handball, because I think handball in America is whatever small sport we have in our countries, it's like cricket in Denmark. You never heard about it. So
The thing is that the way that handball was growing was in the national team men's side especially. It was in a cooperation with Forum Club Handball, which are the group of clubs that are participating in European competitions, that some of the players that were entering in a program to help the federation were sent to clubs in Europe, and Forum Club Handball was helping financially to these clubs to develop these players in that clubs. But now all the let's say the staff and the president and the CEO of the federation changed, so this program at this moment is on hold, and this other program or project popped up, and let's see what's going to happen with this project, because I think that the goals of this other project are much bigger, and in my opinion it's really difficult. We discussed about it with Stine, that first of all American citizens know what handball is, to introduce handball in the schools, which I think is the baseline that they have to try to do, and then to keep doing that after Los Angeles 28, which I think it's going to be really difficult and a big challenge.
That's where I would say let's move over to the European handball on the biggest stage, because we are there. Last episode we did talk a little bit about the encounter of Esbjerg Györ, but not to the entire depth, because as we recorded the game wasn't played yet. But yeah, last time I asked you the question how likely it is that these teams will face each other again in the encounter of during the tournament. But this time I want to ask you guys, how representative is that result that we saw between Esbjerg and Györ for a potential encounter along the way? Víctor, what do you think?
I was surprised a little bit to see comfortable on the score, and I think on the game 2, a comfortable victory of Györ in Denmark. I think that we have seen not the best game from Esbjerg. We can see it also in the shooting percentage, in the goal percentage for Henny Reistad. She scored 4 goals out of 10. For her, it's a bad percentage, a really bad one actually. And yeah, I was quite surprised, because I felt that the victory would have been decided for small details. I think in the goalkeeper position, both goalkeepers, Anna Christensen and Sandra Toft, they were quite good, both of them. So yeah, I think that it's not very representative, because I think that the difference between both teams is not 6 goals.
Yeah, that's what I feel. You did talk about Henny Reistad as probably the key to success for Esbjerg. We don't really need to talk about that. On the other hand, let's look over at Györ there, because I was wondering about it. Between Estelle Nzeminko as the playmaker, Diona Hausherr as the top scorer right now, who is the leading figure for Györ right now? What would you say? Is it maybe even someone else. Sandra Toft is the goalie with the highest saving rate in the tournament right now. Martin, what's your read?
Oh, the team with the biggest depth within the squad. I would say maybe it's also because she's one of my favorite players on the women's side. I would actually go with Nzemenko. I think she's very good in defense. She's capable of covering offensively, and how to say that. Often when you see someone attacking from the left side and she's standing on the other side, she's very good at going up in the field and breaking these kind of pressure and tempos that the other team are trying to make. And she's smart, and also offensively she contributed with around 5 goals against Esbjerg. And I just like when she's playing, she's always have a smile on her face, and I think she's a leader, and also been it for many years for the France national team. But as Víctor said, I also think in the game against Esbjerg that Sandra Toft did very, very well, and she was probably a little bit extra motivated since she played in Denmark against a Danish team. But Nzemenko would be one of them for me. Also, Dahle on the line, the captain, is one of the players I look at when I look at Györ.
I agree with you that after Stine retirement, for me, the leader of the team, if we take in consideration all that a player need to have as a player to be a leader, I couldn't agree more that for me, Estelle Nzemenko is the leader of this team.
Yeah, she definitely is. And even though Sandra Toft was super on fire in that matchup, she has been throughout the entire tournament. So I think right now she's standing at above 35% saving rate. But I still like it that you guys went for a backcourt player there, because I want to have a look at the Esbjerg backcourt too. On one hand side, we do have the best player, not just in the competition, let's be honest, the best player in the world right now with Henny Reistad as the center back. But then I'm especially looking to her right-hand side because, when we saw that match, I think Michaela Möller, she got a lot of playing time as the right back, as a right-hander there. We have seen earlier that Lieve Dela, she got playing time on the right back position as well. What do you think? How deep can Esbjerg go with not trusting a left-hander on the right back position, Martin?
Yeah, and the thing is that they also have Mette Tranborg in the team, and she's not playing that much offensively. She's more contributing defensively, but I have to say, I don't know whenever she's gonna return, precisely. But they also signed Nina Kopang from Sweden, and I think she's a strong player, left-handed right back. I don't know, the exact date for when she's gonna be able to play again. But Michaela Möller also played as right-handed right back in the national team with Denmark, and she did great there. So, I mean, in general, it's gonna give you a different flow. It's often gonna go from left to right. Whenever you have a right-handed right back, whenever you play with a left-handed, it can also go from the right side over to the left side. In this match, I think Györ was very good at keeping Henny Reistad down. The referees was also allowing them to play very tough, and I actually like that because it's between the two of the best teams in the world. So I mean, Esbjerg will survive. If you ask me, they can play with 3 right-handed backcourt players, but I would say that maybe Mette Tranborg should have a go sometimes.
If you ask me, I think that in the long term, it makes them to be a little bit more predictable team in attack. It's my opinion. I think that a team of this level, if they want to win the Champions League, which I think is their ultimate goal, they should have a left-handed player to be able to play in the right back position, left back-handed, sorry. That they can trust in attack, because I think that not having at least one left-handed, it makes your team to have less solutions in attack.
Yeah, that is most definitely true. But well, we got some other teams that we need to talk about here too, because there was one open spot. I think it's in Group B, it should be Group B, yeah. In between Budućnost and Rapid Bucuresti. So that matchup ended in a draw, but in a long time it didn't look like it would end in a draw, because when there was 2 minutes left on the clock, it was Budućnost having an open shot onto the goal, and being able to pull away by 4 goals, but then came in Denisa Sandru and saving that open shot. Rapid Bucuresti actually managed to score on the counterattack, and that brought them back to just 2 goals, actually. So, Víctor, how do you feel as a player from the initially winning side Budućnost when you know the game is on the line and you just missed the chance to tie the game, to finish the game?
Yeah. It's a shot that you have to do, and it just clear 1-against-1 with the goalkeeper, and you miss. Handball, it's a game of mistakes, and sometimes the team that makes less mistakes wins. And I think it's tough mentally for everybody, but yeah. Sometimes in sports we have seen crazier things than this one. If you don't have enough distance entering to the last minutes, some things like this can happen.
And that led Rapid Bucuresti to actually making it into the playoffs, and now they are facing a derby against Cesame Bucuresti. And I was thinking about it a little bit. Is it just the fact that it's a derby, or do you guys think there are other chances for Rapid to actually making it sensationally into the quarterfinals? Víctor, what do you think?
Of course, they have chances because every playoff has to be played. But I think for the way that the team is playing and the results that they are having, and the moment that the club is living, I think Cesame is the clear favorite.
I always love how Víctor is answering these kind of questions. Yeah, well, of course they have a chance. They have 2 arms, they have 2 legs, but eventually, no, they don't have a chance. But yeah, it is true. It is true that the games need to be played. But yeah, then let's look at their opponents, Cesame Bucuresti.
Let's say that the chances, in my opinion, are low, very low for Rapid to go through.
Yeah, and that is not a hot take, I would say, at this moment, because Cesame, they are on a massive run. They have won 5 consecutive games, and Christina Neagu already at 80 goals this Champions League season. She is in the hunt for her 5th consecutive season with having scored more than 100 goals. I think it's super possible that she will end up scoring 100 plus once again. Martin, did she find the right time to leave, because it is her last season? I mean, obviously she is still good enough.
Yeah, when is the right time? Am I to tell Neagu? I know, and I get the question. I mean, she's 36 years of age, and she's been on the highest level for a long period of time. I just remember that we have Moreshi in the first episode we did this season, and she said that the dreams and hopes are big for Cesame. And also a small detail within the 2 games that they're playing in this matchup with Rapid, they also play against each other in the Romanian league. So within a week they play against each other 3 times. So let's see, depending on the first results, how they're gonna prioritize. But Neagu, we always say it, and we always want the big ones, the legends, that they end their career with on a high note, with a special kind of history to it. Yeah, let's see. I have them as big favorites as well in this matchup. As you said, it's a good point with being against the 2 Romanian teams, that derby stuff, spectators, atmosphere. It's probably going to be crazy, but Rapid, with this season that they had, I don't
Keep your
think they've been
prediction
looking
for
that strong.
yourself. We are gonna predict
Okay.
all the matches at the end of the episode.
Okay.
So we are gonna have a
Okay.
look at that and move over to your next bold call, saying that Brest will make it to the final four. We're gonna have a look at that because ever since winter break, Brest has actually only won just one single game ever since we returned from the EHF Euro. Does it show how much Brest relies on Pauletta Foppa? She has had her last Champions League game against Györ, and ever since, there wasn't a victory. Victor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that this bad run of Brest, we can explain it. Of what you just said, that they rely a lot in Pauletta Foppa. I think it's a very important player in both sides of the playing court. And the thing is that as a club, maybe they have to, maybe it's a red flag, that to see that one player is that important for them, that if they don't have them, if they don't have her, a bad run like this can happen. So yeah, I think that if we talked about Nzeminko as a leader of that team, I think if I have to choose one player as a leader of Brest, probably I would choose Pauletta Foppa, and for them not having her, it's really bad.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen her performing at the Euro here too, and how important she was in defense and in offense for the French national team. So she definitely is a huge loss for Brest, and we're hoping that she will be back in time. But then let's look over to the other side, because Podravka, they did lose 3 games in a row as well, but by only 1 goal against good opponents. So it does show that they are close to beating the big fishes in the pond. Martin, what do you think? Is Podravka ready to take on Brest?
They need a good result.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Why's that?
Well, it's not only because I said Brest. I actually think, I agree with Foppa being a big loss. They have Ondono also on the line. She's also a pretty good player. Obviously, you cannot replace Foppa. But the way that they have Vakieva, she's been in these situations many times before. They're not the most experienced team, the Croatian ones. And I also like Clarisse Mairo. She's always going towards goal, always looking for a small opportunity. And I have to say, the games that I've been looking this season, I like the way she's been playing. She's becoming a little bit favorite player also of mine. But in general, even though that they haven't been getting the points that they wanted in this part of the season, Brest, I think that they still have the level and the capacity to win against Podravka.
Alrighty, so we have been talking about the downfall of Brest. Then let's move over to the downfall question mark of Ludwigsburg, because actually they came from being second in the EHF Champions League Women to, in the first half of the season, actually only winning 2 games out of their matches that they played. But still, they managed to turn it around in the second part of the season. So then we basically saw the exact opposite with them actually winning, just losing 2 games out of the basically second leg games, even though those 2 games that they lost were by 13 and by 16 goals. So that leads me to the question, Victor, where is Ludwigsburg at right now?
That's a good question. They just won the Pokal Final Four in Germany, being quite superior in the final against Blomberg, but they were struggling a lot against Dortmund in the semifinal. And in Dortmund, Lois Abing was not playing because of being sick, I think. She had flu. So, yeah, I'm not feeling quite comfortable with the Ludwigsburg performances in Champions League. And if you ask me, I would say that in this playoff, Krim is the favorite.
That's an interesting one too, because if we're looking at Krim, they had 6 games against, let's say, bigger opponents in this Champions League season. And out of these 6 games, do you know how many they won? Not a single one. And that is actually...
Or one?
No, not a single one. So they lost all of
Not a
them
single
against their direct opponents for the top 4. And that's where I'm wondering in that squad of Krim. We do see Anna Groß, Babi Arnhart, Tamara Horacek, Jovanka Radicevic. Martin, are they playing to their full potential?
This is a difficult one because the names that have been written down is also the ones that you said, and with Babi Horacek, our good friend Anna, and then Radicevic. Let's say they have definitely the experience within the team. Are they living up to it? Yeah, I actually think they're living up to the potential. Maybe they have a little bit more, but these knockout stage matches, they have their own thing going on. Whenever that it's gonna be decided in 2 games, and I'm also I don't know how I'm feeling about this matchup. I see it as the most open one between all the matchups that we have. I find it hard to predict about it. It's a tough one, this one.
For me, it's been a bit. For me, it's gonna be crucial. The goalkeepers' performances in this playoff between Krim and Ludwigsburg. I think Johanna Bunsen is doing a great job in Ludwigsburg, but let's remember how important was Gabi Moreski in the last season for the club was called Bietigheim at this moment. So I think that it's going to be a goalkeeper thing, this playoff.
Yeah, not a bad read. Not a bad read. I can agree on that. So we'll see who gets the better goalie performance there. And from maybe the most open playoff matchup, we go to the, for me, clearest baseline that we see in the playoffs. Storhamar against Odense. Or Martin, am I wrong for that?
No, you're pretty right on that one, and especially having in mind that Lunde also came in. We spoke about that last time. Lunde coming to Odense, and her playing against the Norwegian team, she's probably also gonna do some magnificent doing something, against her fellow. But yeah, Odense is gonna win it.
I think that they have quite a lot of players that can score, and that makes the defense have to be ready for too many things, because also Helena Hagese and Helena Fauske, as you said, Deila, also Skium Thompson, they have a lot of players that can score. Baledal, it's difficult. It's a lot of firepower that they have from the back positions, and I think it's unpredictable. Is not the word. The word is that they have a lot of power. In the back position, so it's difficult to pay attention to that many players that can score you from long distance.
No, I just wanted to say I agree with Victor. There's a lot of players there, and Mia Højlund also. But I think for me, the key player is also Helena Elver, who's signed a contract for Györ next season. And then the Delia sisters, even though Live playing for Esbjerg, but I think Tale Delia is also playing unbelievable. Her strength, sometimes whenever she's not completely through, she still has her arm free and she shoots everywhere in the goal and so hard and so strong. I think she's also a player to watch out for.
Cool, fair enough. So much for the analysis, I would say. Let's move it over to our prediction here. Let's predict who is going through to the playoffs. Let's start it here with the last game that we had. Storhamar against Odense. Who makes it?
Odense.
Yeah, I agree on Odense. Then we move it over to Ludwigsburg against Krim. Who's making it to the quarterfinal? Martin.
I would like to say Kim, but I'm going to say Ludwigsburg.
Víctor?
Krim.
Then I am agreeing with Martin here. Ludwigsburg makes it. Next one.
But it's a difficult one.
It is.
It is very difficult.
It is.
Yeah, that's what we agree on. That is for sure. Everything is possible here. Next one, HC Podravka Vegeta against Brest Britannia Handball. Martin.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Brest, obviously, because I predicted them to go to the Final Four.
Víctor.
Yeah, I'm saying Brest as well.
Cool. Then I'm going for the underdog pick here. Podravka makes it.
A
and
Bengt Kunkel coming in.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And then it's derby time in Bucharest. Rapid is facing Cesame. Martin, who's making it through?
Cesame.
Víctor?
Cesame.
I agree. Cesame and, well, let's say Christina Neagu scoring 11 plus goals in the first leg.
Okay, interesting.
Cool. So much for the matchups, I would say. But as I introduced him, he's always in for a surprise. Martin, what do you got for us?
Well, my first one is not a surprise, but since we recording on Wednesday here, also I think we should give a little bit of a shout out to Dibirov, who also played his last Champions League match. 2 times Champions League winner. But my surprise is actually, I don't know if it's a surprise, it's just my personal opinion regarding handball in general, something that I'm a little bit tired of watching. It is. We also saw it at the World Championship. It is whenever referees, they have their doubts about a call, they go out and say, hey, it's a potential red card. And I mean, whenever you look at it, it's never a potential red card. It's maximum a 2 minute. And I think it's going a little bit under the radar that they want to, have the opportunity to go out and then call a potential red card whenever they know that it's never going to be a potential red card. And then they end up giving a 2-minute suspension. I don't know if it's only me, but whenever I'm watching it, it's like they kind of squeeze the VAR situation in order for them to have an extra look at it. And we want the good call and the right call, but it's like, no, I'm a little bit tired of too many red cards whenever I'm watching handball, actually. Maybe that's my little bit surprise or personal opinion. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually say something about it.
I think it's difficult for referees to decide because maybe the same situation for a couple of referees it's red card and the other one for another couple is not red card. And I think that one of the most difficult things in handball is to be a referee. And I think that this video replay, it helps them to have a better look on what happened. I think it's difficult for them to, with the pressure, to go to the screen and be themselves the ones who are handling the tool. But that's another topic. But I think that I'm not tired of what you say. I think that it's just that handball rules are just difficult to
and I agree. I acknowledge referees because I would never be a referee. I'm not. I'm probably a shitty referee, and also it's because it's a very, very, very hard job to have. I just sometimes feel like, you also know yourself, Víctor, whenever let's say you play against Barcelona West Brom, I feel like the level of how tough you can play is maybe a little bit higher than potentially a match that you played against, let's say, Pelister or another team that probably is not, one of the top contenders. And it is also difficult because what level are the referees putting into the match? But I'm just in general, it's just sometimes whenever you look at it and you think, oh, that's maximum a 2 minute. So we want the right call, but it's not like they can, just do VAR and then excuse it with saying, oh, maybe potential red card. And I'm like,
but it's also difficult because when they are refereeing such a different players, like for example, we can see in Melsungen, we have Kristopans and we have Eric Balenciaga. The same action to Eric Balenciaga, it might be red card, but the same action to Kristopans, it's sometimes not even fault because you don't move the guy. So it's really difficult to be a referee in handball, and I think this is a whole other topic. But hopefully referees one day can be professionals, because I think that they are a very, very important part of our sport, and they prepare as good as they can. They make a lot of video sessions, a lot of time preparing themselves also physically. But I think that handball is one of the most difficult sports to be a referee.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
And I actually go into the opposite direction there. That I'm saying, well, let's better pause the game once more and get the right call, other than well, let's just leave it running and we don't get the, as you said it, excuse to go out and look at the scenes again, because as Víctor said, it is super hard, but they are always yeah, of course they're doing their best, and well, if we have the technical standards, why not using them? But of course I do get your point, Martin.
I agree. It's just maybe it's around the rules then, because they can only go out and watch it in some situations whenever they have a reason for a potential red card, or within the last 30 seconds or something like that. I mean, then maybe the rules is just to go out and have a look in whenever you have your doubt about a situation, or does it have to have a, I call it an excuse, but yeah, I just like to bring up a topic, for everyone to discuss. And I like that we're having different opinions.
We need to have a referee as a guest, and then ask them.
Maybe that's a thing. Yeah, maybe
True
that's
that.
a thing.
Might
Now I
be
brought
something.
it up. It's just, we topics. Maybe there's topics that not many others are thinking about. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but let me know what everyone else is thinking.
Yeah.
I just like that we're
That
not
would
agreeing.
that would be as usual, Martin, but no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool, sweet. Then let's close it here
In
for
here
today.
and out.
Martin, your desire for a referee as a guest is placed here. Clemens, go out and do your magic. He's the guy that always is getting us in contact with the amazing guests that we're having. So yeah, thanks once again to Stine Oftedal Dahmke for being around in this podcast. Thank you, boys, for the time. And now I wish you a great rest of your evening. And for you guys out there, enjoy some handball. And we'll hear each other again the next time when it's time to talk handball again.
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Into the net.
She does it again! Yeah!